begin? Wait a minute, I know. Step 1, I repent. Step 2, let me go. No, 3, maybe I show you remorse for my crime. Fuck that, let me speak my mind. So allow me to introduce myself to your manifestation of everybody in this room. Duh, ever felt discarded by a system that's regarded to be something for the people, but the people disregard.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Everyone's Addicted. Today, Everyone's Addicted is turning into Everyone is Incarcerated for our mini docu-series about prison systems and prison reform and what it's truly like to be set up to fail and go through all the things that we don't know about that go on behind those closed doors. So today we have Jeanette, who actually is also Canadian and lives near me, which I love. And she is here to talk about her experience and her knowledge with prison and the prison systems. And she is definitely a big advocate, but I won't steal her story and I will let her take it away. And yeah, thanks for coming on, Jeanette. And please tell us about yourself a little bit.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm I'm Jeanette and I spent a couple of years at Vanier Center for Women in Milton. I ended up spending most of my time in maximum security and a lot in solitary confinement, segregation. Um, and it was mostly for standing up for my rights.
And what was it that they were trying to do? Like, why were you, like, what rights were you standing up for?
The ones that got me in jail or while I was in jail.
While you were in jail, what was the rights you were standing up for, that got you put in solitary?
Well, they told me to put a bra on, and I said no. And that was enough to cause just chaos throughout the whole entire jail system, which is stupid because I'm sitting in jail with everybody doing drugs, drugged out, beating each other up, blood everywhere, urine everywhere, throwing food, whatnot. But the biggest thing they didn't like was the fact that I refused to wear a bra. And that was just chaos.
It's like that is the most insane thing because like come on man, all the other shit that goes on in prison, but they care about a bra. And what is the name of the policy they call for the bra wearing? Because I find it very offensive. So I just want to make sure that it you say correctly because I might say it wrong.
The strap in policy.
That isn't like to me that is so degrading. Like strap him in, like and when we were talking before, you said that it was mostly because of the guards looking at you. But what was the guards' response when you talked with them?
So the male guards told me directly, yeah, we're not staring at your nipples, which I knew they're not. Like every woman knows when a guy is staring at their nipples, or a girl or anybody is staring at their nipples. They weren't doing that. I I was what in my mid late 30s, and I'm in jail with all these young hotties because most of the women in jail are like under 30, great looking. They're flashing the guards all the time too, half of them, and nobody's looking at me. So that was just a stupid excuse for some weird bent power control issues that the most of the female guards were having. Not all of them, mind you. Like some guards were like, "This is stupid. They shouldn't be doing this to you." But there was some kind of power control in the upper class of guards because I said no. That's basically it. I'm
Yeah, you
defying
said
the
no, so
policy.
you're a problem because you said no, and you're gonna keep speaking out for yourself, and so you're gonna continue to be a problem, so they're gonna put you in the hole to shut you up and prove a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Which didn't work. Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
because
they did it, but the outcome ended up in my favor anyway. So,
yeah. What was the outcome? Because I know that it is a good one.
well, after starving myself, going on an actual real hunger strike, not a fake hunger strike, because I know that there's a lot of people who are like, I'm doing a hunger
Mhm.
strike, but I'll eat breakfast and maybe something here and there. Is like, no, I actually went on an actual hunger strike where after like a week, the doctor is looking at me going, if you don't stop, you might actually die. This is where you're going to. And it's like, yeah, but so basically the jail was like, okay, we either have a woman who will die from hunger because she refused to wear a bra, or we have to change the policy. So they changed the policy. And apparently, from what I've heard, from a lot of lawyers, is that I'm the only one that I know who is an inmate who, from inside jail by herself, had changed the jail policy. So that was a success in itself, but it was a long, hard road to get there. That's for sure.
Oh, I couldn't imagine, but I that's why I thought that was so great that you were able to, in within the walls still make a change, because I get like you why wear a bra all day and be uncomfortable when you're just stuck in jail? Like, what is the point of that? Like, I don't understand. Plus, it's somebody else's clothes that has been worn. I wouldn't want to wear somebody else's bra myself. Like, why is this such a huge deal? You know what I mean? And why is this a policy even to begin with? It makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know. But
Well, I was back in the 90s when I was a young lady. I was part of the Top Freedom movement in Ontario's, where Gwen Jacobs went and she took off her top and she made it a policy in Ontario where you can't, judge a woman whether she's
you can be
has her
topless
you
now if
can be
you want.
topless.
Yeah.
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 So I was part of that movement years before I ever went to jail. So I knew exactly what the policies and the rights were. And I've been involved in government before. So I understand all about, being an activist, how government works. And I knew exactly they couldn't tell me to do that. And I knew it was completely against it may have been against their policy, but their policy was against the rights of
For
women,
hire. Yeah.
and I stood up for it because that's the person I am. So I knew what I was getting into, and I knew that they were wrong the whole entire time. They had to
Well,
change
'cause
it.
it goes against the Canadian Charters of Rights and Freedoms. Like it does. Like
No,
right there.
absolutely.
It's inhumane in my opinion. But so I'm assuming activism then is what got you in prison. Am I correct?
In a roundabout way, yeah. So I was living in Niagara Falls and I ended up running for politics several times, and I ended up running as an independent in the provincial election, and I ended up debating and in the papers and doing all that stuff. Previously, I was actually on the board of directors of a member parliament at the time called Rob Nicholson, and he was the federal justice minister. So I actually was part of his board of directors for a while of the actual federal justice minister. This is a couple of years before I ended up incarcerated. I ended up getting kicked off the board of directors because I was actually speaking up for justice when they would have rather had me just be part of the board and say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. I will do the small little jobs. Would you like some coffee? But I'm like, hey, if you're making me part of a board of directors for justice, we're going to have some justice
Yeah,
happening.
you're not
And
an
they're like,
intern. You're not an intern. Like you should have a
yeah.
voice here.
Yeah, so they canned me, and I ended up just running for politics. And after I ran in the provincial election, if I were to run again at a municipal level, I would have won because the running provincially got me the attention and the following that I needed to kind of go backwards and run municipally.
Yeah.
So that pissed off a lot of people, the establishment, who I spoke up against a lot, especially in Niagara, where one issue was about trafficking women. And
Oh,
I
it's
was
bad down there on the 401 for
Oh,
trafficking
it
women.
is horrible. I was actually a lawyer who still practices in the St. Catharines courthouse. Actually, tried to traffic me across to the states. So I could have been a victim if I wasn't wise enough to realize what was going on and got out of that situation. So these are the things that I was speaking up about. So after the provincial election was over, um, I ended up having the police follow me around, and I'm having the police harass me. And one day they pick me up and they're like, "You're trying to commit suicide," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I was actually sleeping in my home, and they went through my window." And I'm like, "What? You posted something on Facebook?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they showed me, and I had posted some Pink Floyd lyrics on Facebook, and I'm like, "Yeah, if Pink Floyd is depressing, sure, but I'm not killing myself." They're like, "Well, you come with us willingly, or we're just gonna take you." And it's like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" What? And they're like, "You're the one who ran as an independent, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Oh,
So
so
they're
this
just
is
like, I don't like this woman. We're coming after you. Oh
yeah."
yeah, because they didn't want you to run municipally because they or yeah, municipally because then that gives you a voice again, and they didn't want you to have a voice again because they already shut your voice down in the first place.
Right, exactly. So I ended up I had an art gallery before because I'm an artist by trade. I studied art, went to school for art, made a living off of art, and so while this was going on, I decided, well, I got to reopen my art gallery because I need to make a living. And so, like not even a week after I reopened up my art gallery, people come and they burn it down. And I'm leaving my burning building, and the police come and they're like, "Where's the gas can?" And I'm like, "What gas can?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, whatever, just get in the vehicle." And I'm now in jail for the arson of
Arson.
my art gallery, and my uninsured art gallery. Like, and I'm sitting in
Oh
jail
fuck.
going, "Okay, I'm a political prisoner." But you tell people I'm a political prisoner, and they're like, "Yeah, whatever, you criminal." I'm
Yeah.
now stuck in that situation. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And here I am in the St. Catharines courthouse. Like I went back and forth between St. Catharines and Niagara Falls because it's the same region. And so I'm in the St. Catharines courthouse, and they bring in a judge from the Welland courthouse specifically to convict me. And this judge, I didn't know him personally, but when I was a young lady, I did go to some fetish balls in Toronto, and he would show
To
up
be
at the
fair.
after parties, and I didn't.
Those are I know from people who come on here what those after parties entail.
Right, and yeah, so I knew all about this judge and what he does, and now I'm like, okay, he might have known me and what I did, even though I didn't interact with him personally. But like, I'm sitting here, what is this guy doing convicting me? And they bring him in from another courthouse. Meanwhile, um, I see the door open to the outside of the courtroom, and there's the Crown who convicted me talking to the lawyer who tried to
Traffic
traffic
you.
me prostitute
So
to the
basically,
states.
like
Yeah.
I've been set up by the police before, but not to this degree. I thought that my story was like a big like thing because I was once told I was in a car accident. They kept yelling at me saying I was high on fentanyl. Then they told me I killed somebody, and then they charged me for that. But I wasn't high and I didn't kill anybody. So obviously I had to deal with all that. But it was nothing compared to this. Like this was like complete entrapment. Like they just wanted to make sure that you could not use your voice. And then still while being imprisoned, still use your voice.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't shut up. Like, come on. Like, basically, when I was in the courthouse in St. Catharines, I didn't even hire a lawyer. There was no point. They're all on it as far as I'm concerned. So I just tried to fast track it as much as I could and then take it to the Court of Appeal in Toronto. And when it was out of the region and in Toronto, the judges of the Court of Appeal said, the Crown lied, the judge lied, everybody lied. Take this back to court because this is just absolutely ridiculous.
Jeanette was arrested in February 2012 after witnesses say they saw her walking away from this fire with a gas can in hand. She was found guilty and sentenced to almost 2 years in jail. Yesterday, the Court of Appeal overturned the ruling.
There was quite a lot of questions about, the witnesses and what they said to the police and what they said on trial, and I was never able to prove that the witnesses were probably, not exactly truthful.
Tsunian represented herself in the trial, and according to the appeals court, the Crown and judge failed to share evidence with her. The Crown had 3 packages of evidence to disclose. 2 were given to Tsunian in person, while the other was delivered to the Vanier Institute in Milton, where she was staying. Those documents never got to her.
Particularly that the fire department actually did not determine what the cause of the fire was. That kind of would have been important to, have while I was in court, but I didn't even know that was even written down in a document.
Tsunian had opened the art gallery less than 4 days before the fire broke out. In 2005, she was convicted with arson after a curtain was set on fire in her home. Local businesses say the whole thing is suspicious.
It didn't sound an accident at all, and that wasn't the way I felt, and quite a few people that thought the same thing.
Today, that art gallery remains boarded up, and Tsunian still claims she didn't do it.
I wake up in the middle of the day and then there's people breaking into my place, and I get out with my two cats and my dog, and then next thing you know, I noticed my place is on fire, and it was like, wow, and then they're getting arrested by the police, and I'm in jail.
It's not clear if the Crown's office will abide by the judge's order and start a new trial. As for Jeanette, while she has since moved to Ottawa and she's working on a number of community art projects, she's also published a number of books sharing her stories from prison. Send it back inside to you.
And they still tried to convict me after the Court of Appeal, but they had nothing on me because there wasn't anything on me, and they had to drop everything. But there was nothing that ever said that I was acquitted, that I'm innocent. So it still makes me look like I'm guilty. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So I went around, like, I published my journals I wrote in jail, and I went around across Canada speaking up about, well, not just my situation, really, because my situation was a little far beyond what most people could believe. So I was speaking up for mostly other women who are incarcerated and what I've seen, and then I'm still getting the police, chase me around, and I realize they tried picking a fight with me at one point, and they tasered me. This is like after the whole jail experience, and again,
Yeah.
I had to take them to court. It was the OPP this time, and they were found that they were in the wrong and they were lying. Basically, every time I take everything to court, it's always found that the cops and the judges and the Crown and everybody, they're all lying. But
They
I don't get it.
You got like that target right on your head, right? Like
Yeah,
they all
yeah,
just
pretty much. And I don't get any justice. Nothing comes my
Nope.
way. It's just like, oh, okay, they were lying. Okay, you could go now. Then I would speak up some more, and I'd get harassed more. And then I came to a point where I'm like, am I accomplishing anything? Because I have accomplished things before, so I know what accomplishing is like, like changing the bra policy and stuff like that, right? So I ended up getting married and changing my name, and just hid for a while because I just couldn't live. I just like, at some point you have to have a life, right?
Well, yeah, because like my husband's kind of experienced something similar because of my brother-in-law and his sister's case that they have. Um, he became the surety for my brother-in-law who breached his probation and went back to jail. So whenever something comes up, like a court date of his or something, they pull my husband in no matter where he is for questioning, and they'll throw him in a jail cell for a few hours just to mentally screw with him. Do you know what I mean?
Yo, I know
And
exactly
then
what you mean.
and then they take him out and question him. But he has been in trouble with the law before and been imprisoned. So he just they say they've said to him, I've never seen anybody sit in a jail cell quietly for 3 hours like it's nothing. He's like, well, because I didn't do anything and I have nothing to hide. And so I'm just gonna sit here and think about music because he likes to write music. So he's like, I'm just thinking about music I'm writing. I don't give a crap about what you have to say. Same thing like when they were screaming at me, telling me I was high on fentanyl. You can't find your license because you're high on fentanyl. I'm like, no, I can't find my license because you're screaming at me. And then when I see the ambulance pull up, I get out of the car because I'm like, why is there an ambulance here? It was literally I lost control in the rain and pulled into a parking lot to avoid an accident. And they're like, you killed somebody. My first reaction was to run towards this ambulance. And they just take me the fuck down. Like, and I'm because I'm screaming, right? And the same thing, they wouldn't let me call my family. They wouldn't let me do anything. They put me in a jail cell for 3 hours and then did a sobriety test. But I asked them for a sobriety test on the spot. They wouldn't do it. Then they had to mentally screw with me for 3 hours or four, then do it to prove I'm sober. But yet, when you tell somebody they killed somebody, and then 3 hours later, right before the sobriety test, you tell them they didn't kill somebody, but yet they're getting charged for killing somebody, they're not going to be mentally coherent. So I'm going to look high. You know what I mean? But it's because I had previous drug issues. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I feel like they do with people. Like not maybe
They
as
do.
extreme as it's not as extreme as you, but as if you have a criminal past, especially in like small like our regions are small. They know who we are in the court systems and stuff like that. As long as you've been up once or twice, they know who you are. So they're going to automatically be like, nope. And if you get those, like my best friend's dad was the police commissioner in Brantford, Ontario, where we live. And he was one of the good cops. He would not lie. And he basically was threatened by everybody on the police force that they were going to hurt his family if he didn't lie on like for a police officer who had done something wrong, right? And he still refused. And then him and his family had to move to Ottawa and completely relocate so that they were safe. Because realistically, I feel like the cops are their own little gang of,
Yeah. Yeah, they
that's
are.
how they act. And then the same as the COs, they're their own little gang. There's good ones and there's bad ones,
Yeah.
but for the most part, they're like that. And like, it's just ridiculous. And
See, that's
um,
why I say there's no good cop. Like I used to say,
no,
oh yeah, there's the occasional good one, and it's like what you said that happened to the good one. That's what happens, and so there are no good ones left, and so there is no
yeah.
good cops at all. It's just
Or they're
it's a stupid system. This whole entire judicial system, the legal system, is all about. It's just about one group of people trying to humiliate the easy targets and screw with them for a paycheck, and it's
and
nothing more than that, because anybody could, and everybody does drugs, everybody could commit a crime, like everybody stole at one point, like it just, some people, they have the right support, they don't get caught, their friends don't bother ratting them out, but one person gets caught and all of a sudden they're in the system and they're just being dragged down and humiliated and being told that they're a criminal. Well, it could be anybody, it doesn't matter,
and
like.
I I also feel like it goes by class system too. The
Yeah,
more
yeah, that's
money
what it
and
is.
power you have, your voice is going to be heard.
Yeah,
The
you could
less
do all the
money,
drugs you want, you could rape,
yeah.
you could murder, you
Well,
could do
to
anything, and
be
then
to
nothing,
be
nobody touches you.
to be completely transparent, I was on the app Seeking Arrangement when I was younger. and I met a guy that was from Toronto that was like very affluent and partied with the Ford brothers and told me about how much crack Ford smokes and all these things with hookers and all of this stuff, right? So he's in charge of our province, but yet behind closed doors, he's a piece of shit. Well, he's a piece of
Oh
shit.
yeah,
Like,
I was in jail with women who partied with the Ford brothers. I heard stories
that's the
about them.
Epstein files in Canada is the Ford brothers.
Right?
Pretty much. And
Oh
this guy
yeah.
was like proud of it. He was like telling these stories as if it was like like a sense of pride. And it's like wealthy people just think we're what are like, and I'm not saying we're poor, we're middle class, but they're like, you know what I mean, wealthy millionaire lives in mansions, not like a regular normal, two car
Oh,
family, just you know
yeah,
what I
these
mean.
guys, they
So they
don't
just
sneak around. They don't sneak around doing this in private as some weird little
oh no,
fetish. They love to brag. They love to show their prizes and they love to say what they've done. And, oh, yeah, did this to this woman. Oh, let me try to do that to that woman too. And, then that woman goes to the police going, These guys, they're raping me. Oh, yes, everybody wants to rape you. It's,
uh-huh.
it's
It's
ridiculous.
it's insane. And I know you spoke at the Senate, and did that end up ever like evolving anything when you did speak? Like I'm gonna show the clip of her speaking, but I just want to know like when you did it make any change or did they just ignore you?
Oh no, that didn't do shit all, and I could tell you why. Well, I did a lot of speaking to politicians, doing all the university activism, speaking to all the groups and everything, and it's nothing. It doesn't do anything. Nobody does shit all. And when I spoke at the Senate, well, it turns out what happened was I heard about the Senate meeting going on and that I was allowed to go and sit in the audience, and if I wanted to ask questions, I could do it. And that the subject was about incarceration. So I went, um, and it was just like the usual political crowd that was there, that were, the
The
incarcerated people.
stuffy.
Yeah, they're
Mhm,
or the people who work for the system, basically. So,
mhm.
at that time, I don't know if you're aware of Senator Kim Pate, who she used to be the administrative director of the Elizabeth Fry Society, and now she's a
Oh,
senator.
okay, yes, because I seen Elizabeth Fry Society. When I seen that, I know about Elizabeth Fry. So yeah,
Okay, um, so when I went, I saw the opportunity to speak, and you had to sign up to speak. And I was the first to sign up, so I was the first to speak and say what I needed to say. And you're supposed to ask questions, so I said what I needed to say, and then asked them a question at the end, which I think was like, "So what are you going to do about it?" or something. I can't remember. I actually haven't seen the clip myself for a while. I probably should have reviewed it before I went on here, but. Um,
it's all good.
so,
It's all about being raw and
anyways,
real, anyways. So you know.
I'm sitting there and I'm next to, the all the, directors of all the, organizations that deal with incarceration and criminals and everything. And are they talking about, oh, we're going to make changes and oh, we're going to do that? No, they're talking about who's sleeping with who at the office. They couldn't even give a shit. They sound really good on camera, but no, no, they couldn't give a shit. And so when I went up to speak, somebody was actually trying to stop me. What was his name? His last name was Zinger. I can't remember. He's
I've
some
heard that
high up.
last name before,
Yeah,
actually.
he's ended up being I can't remember the titles anymore. It's been a while since I've been in the biz, but he's one of those top dudes that you would talk to if who makes speeches and are in the paper. Um, so he was trying to stop me, and what happened was Kim Pate ended up speaking after me, and she had to actually refer to what I was saying a lot as Jeanette said, this and this is this. And as Jeanette said, this is this. And then after that, she became a senator. So it turns out none of that was about helping people that was incarcerated. It was about her to make her speech in the Senate so she could become a senator. That's
And
all
she
that was about.
went
Microphone 30.
Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I spent 2 years in the provincial institutions. I spent lots of time in most of my time was in maximum security and in segregation. I'm a normal functioning person in society with no mental illnesses. However, I had the option where I could have been diagnosed with a mental illness and medicated just to get me through incarceration, and I did not agree on that when I was in there. I'm just wondering if this meeting is all about repackaging incarceration from criminal institutions, jails, to medical institutions, mental health institutions. I've read a lot of wonderful literature, self-educated throughout history, books from a couple of thousand years and on, and it seems like I'm watching history repeat itself from the people who are overeducated leaders in society, looking at the poor, wondering what you're going to do about them, and to stick them in institutions. While I was in jail, most of the people in the institutions I don't think belong there at all, and I think it would be better if they were just in better circumstances in life. I think we need to be concentrating on what brings people institutions and stop putting people institutions and just shifting them from one institution to another. Most of the women I was in jail, I think, should have been home with their children, taking care of them, or having jobs. Only a very few percent, I would think, have some really severe mental disabilities. And if you're just going to over-educate everybody as some mental case and just stick them in an institution, those few that actually have some serious issues will not get the attention they need at all. So, I'm just listening to you guys talk, and I'm like going, I don't think I see anything really happening here. If you're not going to, basically my question here for you guys, when are you guys going to start dealing with the issues that bring people into institutions to begin with, and stop taking them as children and saying, oh, that person's just mentally ill, let's stick them into an institution, and they're just going to be institutionalized for the rest of their life. I personally don't like the fact that my hard-working tax-paid dollars has put me into an institution, especially when I was wrongfully convicted, but that's another story. Seriously, I don't want to see any more institutionalized people. There are some serious criminals out there, sure, stick those people in jail. Most of the people in jail are not serious criminals, don't need to be there. It's life circumstances. Stop institutionalizing people. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to
And just like that, this turned into
and off the back of what you said. Oh, that'd make me mad
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I can
Yep.
see why you were like, I want to get married. I want to start a different life. I don't want any more of this crap because, first of all, I was incarcerated for no reason. Then I went through all that crap with wearing a bra and being put in solitary, which is the worst. And then fought to get that bra policy gone. Then came back, tried to do more advocacy, and they just wouldn't leave me alone. Oh man, like I said, it was like you had a target on your head, and I see why you would be like, now I want to live a quiet life. So I appreciate you speaking with me because I totally understand having that target on your back because we definitely have gone through that in our area similarly because of my brother-in-law, but also because of things I've said because we had overdose and a friend of mine as well because her daughter died of overdose, right? So on Overdose Awareness Day, no police officers showed up, no like politicians showed up, the mayor didn't show up, but then 2 days later, the mayor's doing this speech about overdoses and but it's just our marriage just to get attention and be seen in this really positive I am helping people light and then he was seen with a nonprofit handing out food that or whatever and it's just the photo ops for that But Overdose Awareness Day, there was nobody. And we spoke out quite a bit about that, because they won't let us put up a memorial or anything in our city. They say that it's going to make people depressed. So they were already angry about us trying to. We got our own artist. We were going to pay for it out of our own pocket. We had a park picked out. They just said it would make people depressed to look at it. So no.
Oh,
In
jeez.
it had nothing to do with them, like nothing to do with costing them money. And so the mayor didn't want to show up at Overdose Awareness Day and I work for Rogers Cable, right? I have my shows on there. He didn't want me to put him on Rogers and ask him why we can't have our memorial. So he didn't show up because that's negative press, right? And so there's where the target began. My friend whose daughter died has put a much bigger target on her head because she won't stop. She's like what you were like. She will not stop till she receives the justice that she wants to receive, which she deserves. Her daughter died of an overdose that shouldn't have happened. So I get it. And she put a big billboard up and paid for that. Like, oh, yeah. So with this whole overdose awareness thing, that kind of put a target on who me and her were. And that caused like any little thing that's out of the car accident, it was like, oh, well, we seen her, and you know what I mean? And I don't, like, obviously I haven't, like, I speak out on here, but like, I live in a small town. I don't really like, not like Niagara's bigger, a way bigger municipality, same with St. Catharines. Do you know what I mean? Like, I live in Paris, Ontario and I lived in Brantford, Ontario, which is highly, highly, highly opiate addicted, homeless everywhere. And that's why I started the podcast because everybody was just treating the homeless like they were garbage. And even at the methadone clinic, they slam the door in people's faces. They're rude as hell.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was like, I want to show people like what it's really like from an addiction standpoint. That nobody asked to be homeless. There's reasons why people became this way, right? And
Oh,
now I want to do
absolutely.
this. Now that I've been able to grow my channel to a bigger level, I want to do this with prison because through my daughter's father, I've seen and heard a lot. Like he's not the same person that he was when I met him when we were kids. And he's been in and out of the prison system for about 20 years now, right? So he's relatively institutionalized. He started off really young. And he's even written an article in the paper saying, well, if you didn't let me out, I would have committed more crimes because they set you up to fail. It's not like
Yep.
they just let, yeah. So that's what I was also going to ask you. When they released you, did they do anything to like help you re-enter society in any sort of way?
Oh, hell no. Well, first of all, you have to have a drug addiction or a mental health concern, and you have to be really into it. Like I'm mentally ill. I'm completely fucked up. Help me. And then I was neither. I didn't qualify for anything. I did stay at EFRI in Ottawa for a bit, and that was just being from jail to another jail. It like those it's horrible because they're supposed to be these feminists, but I don't I'm all like I'm the one that went to jail for standing up for women and they're treating me like shit. They're treated everybody like shit. It was all about them having a job and getting a paycheck. And everything that they said was just bullshit. That they speak in the public going, we're helping women, and then what they're actually doing is just degrading all the women that are in there, and it's absolutely horrible. Like when I was in jail, they're trying to set people up to have these little courses. They go in jail, they do these little hour courses where you get a certificate so you could show the judge that you did it. And they're all bullshit. They're telling women, this is how you get a job. Well, these women know how to get a job. They're telling women, this is how you pay rent. Yeah, these women have been paying rent for a long time. And if they're not paying rent, it's because they're poor and there's something wrong or they have an addiction, their money's going to drugs. You're telling women to do things that they already know how to do and you're getting paid. Like that's just absolutely
Mhm.
stupid. Like you're just
Nothing, no
humiliating
like
people.
therapy or not like necessarily therapy, but no like talking to people about having like proper relationships and like, do you know what I mean? Like how to properly like do interviews, like to find jobs or give them leads or like you said, it's a certificate, it's not an actual school course, you know what I mean?
No, when
And
I was in E-Fry, like when I was actually staying with them after jail, I'm like, okay, I need a nice, safe place to stay. And they're like, okay. So met with the housing person. They said, what are you looking for? And I told them. And then they're like, okay, come back a week later. I come back a week later. And all she did was print some stuff off from Marketplace or Kijiji, a few apartments. And she was like, okay, go check these out. And I'm all like, okay, well, first of all, I have a criminal record.
yeah, and that's what they look at right away. That's the first thing. Do you have a criminal record? Yes. Same with job applications. Yes. But I guess, and I hate this because it's like, if you're considered rehabilitated, then why should you be judged for having a criminal past?
So what I ended up doing eventually um, is I learned how to play stocks. Like I'm not an employable person, not partly because of my criminal record, but I'm just an artist. I'm just not an employable person.
I'm
So
the same way.
I learned how to play stocks. I got married to a guy who he was kind of a mid-level management kind of just bill collector guy, but he came from a rich family. And his parents, when we got married, gave us some money so we could invest in some real estate. So I ended up being a landlord and I opened up an art gallery, tattoo shop, and I had so now I had businesses and I had property. And so basically any of my tenants, I didn't ask for criminal records. I didn't ask for any references. I just went on who they were. Any of my employees, one of my employees was a guy who was living on the streets, and I helped clean him up just by giving him a job, and he ended up getting a place and getting back together with his kids and stuff like that. So I guess you could say I still went into activism, but I did it in a more uh,
Yeah.
quiet way, but more productive way. Because going out in public yelling at people was just getting the police chasing me around, and nothing was getting accomplished, right? So I found in this way it was getting accomplished. Now, I did
You're
recently
giving
get to,
people a chance that would not normally get a chance, which is something that
yeah,
is severely needed. And it also, like
yeah.
you said, incites hope to do better because somebody gave you a chance and you don't feel like you're just written off.
Yeah, because I noticed the people who did clean themselves up after jail were people who made a connection with somebody else that helped them. And that's what it is. Like, if somebody from, like, say, the Elizabeth Fry Society or a counselor or somebody did help somebody, it's because they made a connection with that person. And you don't make a connection with everybody, so most people don't get help. And or they find a partner that they end up getting along with, and they end up cleaning each other up. And like I'm thinking about one person in particular. She had bad addiction problems, but we stayed friends since, and I totally seen her clean herself up. They started a landscaping business, and a little printing business and everything. And how they got stuff going on, and they're perfectly functional people in society that don't get arrested anymore. It's
But it's
because
not the prison system that helped them or rehabilitated
no,
them. It was
no,
them that did it themselves. Like
right.
that's what I mean by they set you up to fail. Like you said, even with them just giving you things off Indeed to find somewhere to live. Like that's not gonna help. And the fact that you have to say that you have a criminal record, that's not gonna help. And in the States, it's 10 times worse. Like I know this from
No, I
having a
believe it.
friend. I have a friend that's on parole right now, and he basically he asked me if I knew of any gambling websites that could pay off really quick because he had to meet his parole officer and he had like an old Visa card that he was making the payments for, and because he couldn't work, he had made the payment that month, and his parole officer could put him back in jail for not making that payment. So he was like desperately looking for a way to find money. so that he could keep himself out of prison again, just because he can't work and couldn't make that payment. So like, and I said to him, that's crazy because in Canada, like basically my ex, as long as he shows up to his parole appointment, that's all he has to do. He doesn't even have to piss in a cup, for fuck's sakes, even though he should. But yeah. Then there's some people who get away with things, and then there's some people who don't. I'd be that person they'd be like, well, you look like you're stoned. We're gonna drug test you. I don't know. I must have that face. I don't know. But like my ex, he does get away with quite a bit, I will say. But again, when he tried to use the mental health route when he was in prison, and then they just put him in Brockville in the psychiatric prison and kept him there longer instead of helping him out. So it's like, again, you're getting set up to fail right away because, okay, so I have mental health problems. Okay, well, let's put you in a psychiatric prison with a lot of other people that have had problems where it's probably 10 times more dangerous for you to be. Like, that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to talk to you because I mean, because especially you're from Canada, and I think that it's inspiring that you weren't even a person who should have ever been put in jail, and everything that you've gone through and everything that you've spoken out with, I think it's amazing that you were able to restart your life now and help people in a way without getting yourself in trouble again. And it's a way that's giving them a second chance. So I love that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're definitely, like, just from talking to you, I'm like, yes, this is somebody who should have never, ever went to jail, ever. Like, that is just insane. Even
Yeah,
just this,
it's kind of funny because when I was in jail, the other inmates would be like, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here." I'm like, "Well, tell that to the judge." Like, and I'm looking at the women in jail, and I don't think most of them belonged in there. A couple of them maybe, but most of them were just women who did some drugs, and some guys got them to do some horrible things or something. I don't know. They're trying to feed their kids. There wasn't any like real crimes as far as I'm concerned. I'm like, what are these
yeah, I wasn't
people
like there
doing
was a
here?
serial killer in there or like Paul Bernardo. Actually, my ex was in there with Paul Bernardo, in
Oh,
Kingston, but
no.
there's not that many. Like, it's not like our country has that much dangerous people. Like, and
No.
everybody had a reason to be there. Like you said, like, just trying to put food on the table. Like, really, and our government says they have all these programs in place to help people manage either their mental health, their addiction, their poverty, and with food and all the housing and all this stuff, but they don't. They
No, the
just stay
reason
with,
why they're in place is so the people who have those positions have a job because they paid for university and they owe student loans. So they need to, I am now a counselor at the prison because I need to feed my family and have a paycheck or else I'm going to end up in prison. That's all it is. Like that's really all it is. It's one group of people just trying to feed themselves who are humiliating and dehumanizing another group of people and are getting paid for it because they tried to feed themselves and their families. It's just which side you end up being on, and anybody could end up on either side. I know, people are like, what are you doing in jail? And there's a few other women who were like, I never thought I would ever be in jail. My God, I have a university degree and all this stuff. And here I am. What am I doing here? Like, it's like, yeah, and then I got out and, people were like, oh, I'll never end up in jail. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that from people in jail. Like it could happen to anybody. You don't know. You don't, somebody could set you up or you could just be in some situation
or
where,
it's the judge, and it's like I said, like even like with addiction. Okay, so you're in there because say you were trafficking drugs to help your own drug problem. Well, you say there's programs for these people to help them, but instead you incarcerate them, and then
and
it
then go
just
home and
makes
do
it.
drugs.
Yeah, they
Like,
just
come
sit there
on.
all day and do drugs and have no responsibility. Like, are you kidding me?
Like, everybody when they were young partied and did drugs. Some of them ended up being
Mhm.
lawyers and some of them ended up being criminals. Like, but like, what's the difference? Like that. How many women in jail have I met that were sleeping with their lawyers? Their lawyers were pimping them out, and their lawyers were also giving them drugs. Like, okay, this guy's a
Really?
lawyer, but he sounds more like a drug dealing pimp. Like, but he has a law degree and he's like, and I'm looking at these women, yeah, I got a really good lawyer. And I'm like, if he was a really good lawyer, you wouldn't be sucking this cock and you wouldn't be in jail. Like, come on,
Well,
give
it
your head a
makes
shake.
it makes me think because like for my car accident, like I did have a DUI that was real. That lawyer was old and my dad was with me throughout all that. I was only 19. But the lawyer I had just the last 2 years ago when the car accident happened, there was one, it was towards the end of the case, and I was wearing like a really nice dress. Like a nice flowy dress. I looked really good that day because it was court, right? And he said to me, "You look really good today." Now, if I wasn't like married or something, or I got and it hit me in a way that I knew that that was crossing
Yeah.
a line, like with a like what I mean, between a lawyer and a client. And then he took me in a private room, and we had a private conversation about how to go about this and how we're gonna like what I mean. Like we had a private conversation about my case in a private room after he just told me that I looked good. Now, if I would have maybe said or done something differently, I probably would have had sex with him in that
Right.
room. And I
Yeah.
guarantee
Yeah.
that's what he took me in there for, but it just didn't end that way because I at the time was oblivious. I'm married and I wanted to do was get the hell out of there. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to be talking to him in the room.
Yeah.
I
He
wanted to
was
go home.
testing you. He was testing you to see how where he could bring you. I've been tested like that when I was young a lot. Like, where how far will this girl go? They
But
say something.
it opens my eyes to that now because just from that comment that made me feel like there was something that it was breaching, like it was wrong. Do you know what I mean? It made me feel
Oh,
like it was
absolutely.
wrong.
Yeah.
It opens my eyes now to why he said it and to what really happens. Like, because I don't think people know that any of this kind of shit happens. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
that is
no,
something.
when I would be interviewed, because I've been interviewed by the media and I did all the speeches, and they always try to just say the same things. They want you to be focused on, talk about the mental health system and talk about drug addiction. And it's like, can we talk about reality? I would start to talk about reality, the camera would be shut off. The interview would be over. Or they'd continue doing the interview, but if it wasn't live, it wouldn't end up being aired. It's like they won't say this stuff. They
No,
just
it's like
no.
and like with the like they wanted you to talk about these mental health programs or all these things. The programs don't exist pretty much. Do you know what I mean? If they do exist, they don't help at all. Like I've had counselors that literally sit on their computers and type and they don't even listen to a word I say. So what's that helping me when I go to a methadone clinic because I have an opiate addiction and my doctor is super intimidating that I take a year to finally talk about my anxiety issues and then he sends me to this counselor who doesn't even listen to me. How does that help? Do you know what
Yeah,
I
no,
mean?
it's all bullshit. It helps them get their paycheck, you know?
Uh-huh.
It helps
And then
them get their promotions. It helps them get, their stars and to get patted on the back and to
and
say that,
everybody's
hey,
like,
I'm
"Oh,
a
he's
good
the
person.
best
I helped
doctor."
somebody. What was
And they're
that?
like, well, they kept telling me, "Oh, he's the best doctor. He's the best doctor." No, he's not. And also, they have cameras in the bathrooms, which is they don't tell you that, but the cameras in the bathrooms are also in the waiting room where people can see. So people can see you peeing in the cup that are in patients. Other patients can see it. And they don't let you know that until you see it. And like so that's what I mean by like with our mental health and our addictions programs, they're not really the best either. So it's like when you come out of prison and they send you to these programs or halfway houses where people are doing drugs out the ass, it's not helping you. Like, and it all starts from the top, like you said. And when you were treated like an intern because they didn't want you to say the things that should be said, because they all are getting paid from the top down to say what they're told to say to make everybody look good. And that's how I feel.
Oh yeah, they won't give me a pardon. They give Carla Homolka, she's got a pardon. She
I know,
gets
like
to
that's what I mean.
rape,
How the
murder her
hell?
sister. Oh yeah, she gets a pardon. I don't get a pardon. That they won't. That I tried. I went to court several times over it. Had a lawyer. They just keep making up more lies, and then I go back, and the judge goes, "Oh yeah, they lied." And then you're not supposed to do this and they weren't supposed to do that, and then I go back and try for a pardon again, and they just redo what the judge said they weren't supposed to do, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, okay, like
The
they're
Carla
going, and
Homolka.
I have
Carla
this
Homolka was
huge,
allowed out, got to have kids, and like the that
because she
whole
married a
thing.
lawyer, eh? Like, come on, she's just with everybody. It's like, well, what's going
And
on?
that's what.
Oh,
And then they made a movie about her, and because it was made in America, she's allowed to get money off of that. Where if it was made in Canada, she wouldn't because of the way the laws are, right? She's allowed to make residuals from that, even though in Canada, if it was made in Canada, she wouldn't. But because it was filmed in the States, she does get residuals for that. So how does that woman get fame pretty much? Because in the movie, it makes it look like it was Paul, but
yeah,
it
I
was
saw it.
Carla. I've read the book. It was fucking Carla, okay? And her childhood friends say what she was like. She was definitely not a good person. It was not Paul making her do things. They did it together because they both enjoyed it. And the fact that she got a pardon and was able to move to the Bahamas, have kids, and have this life, but yet somebody like you who should have never been incarcerated has to fight to get a pardon. What the hell is seriously wrong with our system? That's why I want to talk about this because it just is so wrong, and nobody
I
really
read
sees it.
stuff that they wrote about me, and when we were doing the pardon and stuff that's in my file, and I'm like, who is this person? Like they just make up complete stuff that's completely just made up. Uh, when guys were trying to traffic me, and I was having that problem, and I ended up making a sexual assault report that ended up in my pardon, but not as a sexual assault report. It ended up as it said something like, I informed a police officer that I like to be tied up and beaten as a submissive in a sexual situation. That, like, weird, twisted stuff like that. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, who's writing this stuff up? Like, you're just making up crap and saying that's me. Does it say that I have a college diploma? Does it say that I was, at one point on the board of directors of the Justice Minister? Does it say I ran for politics? Does it say I own an art gallery and that I was a business person? Does it say, any of that stuff, that I had a normal life, that I did all these achievements, that, I was a good person in society, that all the places I volunteered at and all that stuff? None of that is in there. No, at one point, I read that I was a crackhead. I've never tried crack before in my life, but apparently, all throughout my 20s, I wasn't going to college. I was living on the streets doing crack, and I'm like, that didn't happen. Like, but that's what's written in my files. It's like, yeah, you just make shit up. They just write whatever they feel like. It's
It
like,
it
wow.
blows my mind. Like I know they make shit up because they said I killed somebody when I didn't, but it like to go as far as they went with you and won't give you a part like Yeah, it's literally definitely, like I said, it's the narrative from the top down. And with Carla Homolka, it was like, oh, well, let's see how much media coverage and attention can we get by letting her out and giving her a pardon. Do you know what I mean? And
Oh
like
yeah.
bringing attention to our country, bringing attention, like you know what I mean? It brings money to them because now the newspapers, all of the news broadcasting, everything, everybody's making money off of letting her out and doing that because their interviews, just talking about it, articles, everything. You know what I mean? Even from people like that are creators or people that are, just like Facebook people, anybody, just are making money off of it, and that's why they did it. Where with you, it's like, well, we don't make any money off this, so let's just torture her some more because she spoke out, and they don't like it when you don't comply with what they want. And it started from the time you didn't comply when you were on the board of directors. And that's how it all just trickled down.
Oh, I haven't complied since I was a kid. I was always questioning authority and everything. So that's just the type of person I am, and that's what it's all about.
Oops, sorry, my hand moved. So like for the future, do you see yourself coming back with advocacy, or do you just want to live the quiet your life rest of your life quietly and maybe put the pieces back together mentally even?
Well, I have been doing that, and I put together a lot of pieces, and I've come to a point in my life where I know exactly what I'm doing and how to go about doing things. So I am getting back into, well, I'm doing this interview, obviously, I'm getting back into speaking out and say what happens. I am writing my autobiography and I am plan on actually saying this stuff. And a lot of stuff has happened in the last 10 years, with the Epstein files, opened up people's eyes a lot, because that's similar to what I was facing and speaking up against, except it was in Canada and different people. But so I believe I've put myself in a position where I could speak up with less endangerment to myself.
Well,
I'm
that's what I
pretty
was gonna say when you said, "Oh, I was thinking about getting back in it." Before you said memoir, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna put yourself in." But doing it through a memoir, they can't really do anything to you with that. So I feel like, yeah, I'd be going about it in that way, or because even people who post videos complaining about, like, a lot of people have been complaining about rent and stuff here, they all of a sudden just disappear. Like they get kicked right off the internet. Like it's crazy because they're not following the rules. But if you write a book, they can't stop you from that. You know what I mean? Talking to somebody like me, they can't get you in trouble for that. But like going and talking at a school or, university or something about this, they could start following you again. And I don't want to see that for you. I think after everything, I would, if it was me, I would probably do the same thing. Write a memoir, tell my experiences, and live my life peacefully and help people the way you're doing it now. And coming on podcasts and stuff like this once in a while just to make sure we keep fucking opening people's eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Right on.
So I definitely, yeah, I definitely agree with your path. Oh man, I couldn't imagine just everything that you've gone through like that in itself, and like the fact that like you are so emotionally stable. It's crazy because I have I'm trying to my like I have mental health issues when it comes to anxiety due to like childhood trauma and stuff like that. So like for me, I have agoraphobia, right? So if that stuff was happening to me, I would literally be never leave my room. Never. Never, 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 never. And sit
Well,
there in a
I
ball.
did have bad PST for a while, post traumatic stress.
Yeah,
So
post-traumatic stress disorder, because I have that too.
well, if you've been through the prison system, then yeah. And I got it from the prison. I got it from being treated badly by the cops. And for a while it was pretty bad, but I got over it. I'm a strong person, and you could get over it.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and telling me all of this stuff. Like I said, I am going to put the clip of her speaking at the Senate into this interview so you can see what she had to say. Is there any last things you'd like to say before I let you go?
I'm just remember, you're not crazy. And that they want you to think that you're crazy. Just whoever who needs to hear this, you're not crazy.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it, especially after everything that's happened to you. I don't want to get in more trouble, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. And like I said, most of the other people I have coming on for this series are American. So being able to talk to somebody that understands the Canadian prison system and the way things are here really helps because I not everybody that listens to this is going to be an American. They're going to be Canadians. So I thank you for sharing this so openly with me, and you're definitely one tough bitch. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, and have a great day. I appreciate it so much.
Awesome, you too.
Thank you. Oh, wait,
Cool.
I have to stop recording it.